Hi, folks. Welcome to According to Sam. This is a bonus podcast that I'm going to do this week. In my podcast that I do weekly on Fridays and Mondays for the past 6 months, 7 months, I've been talking about history, Jewish history, and then getting into Christian history with the Catholic Church. And the past couple of podcasts, been talking about the Protestant Reformation and making those historical events relevant to things that are going on today. I think it's very relevant. You look at, what's going on, the relationship with the Trump administration and the current Pope, things that are going on within the Catholic Church today and making it relevant to things that were going on in the 16th century is what I've been doing in that podcast. But even the history, talking about the Jewish history, I think that it was very relevant, and that's why I did that. But I love history, and I think I have a great historical perspective. But I also have a great political perspective as well. And we are getting into the summer of a very important election year. There's a struggle for power in this country. The Democratic Party, the left in this country, have no federal power, and this is the opportunity for them to get federal power. So at some point, I want to transition in my regular podcast that I do on Fridays and Mondays into getting back into some, politics and things that are relevant to the campaign for the House of Representatives and the Senate. And there's, statewide elections. California is going to be getting a new governor, and there's a lot of interesting things going on. So I want to get back into that in my regular podcast. I am going to do a podcast tomorrow that is going to continue with the history of the Catholic Church and the Protestant Reformation and all of that. But I wanted to do a special podcast today talking about some politics stuff because I just couldn't let it go. I couldn't let this stuff go. And I want to get into it today, some things that I'm noticing. And there's a struggle for power in this country. And it's something that I anticipated this. I saw this, and it is all about this redistricting and drawing new congressional districts. Trump came up with the idea for Texas to redistrict. This is mid-decade redistricting. The Constitution says that you're supposed to take a census every 10 years, and then you draw districts after that census. So this is in the middle of the decade that this redistricting is going on. And Trump kicked it off, but he was responding to something, which we're going to get into in this podcast. I have a lot to share with you guys. I don't know how long this special podcast is going to be. I want to, not, make it as long as my regular podcast, but with everything that I have to cover, it's probably going to be about an hour long. We're going to start with this clown. Rachel Maddow did this report 2 days ago, and this is all in response to the SCOTUS ruling that everyone is saying is gutting the Voting Rights Act. The Voting Rights Act is being gutted, and it's taking us back to pre-civil rights era for blacks. This is Jim Crow all over again. And I want you to listen to some of this, hyperbolic speak. I have many clips of people being just completely hyperbolic in response to this Supreme Court ruling. And that's what this podcast is about. Let's get right into it. We're going to start with this clown, Rachel Maddow. Take a listen. This is just 2 days ago.
3 months ago tonight, when the president posted online a video depicting former President Barack Obama and former First Lady Michelle Obama as if they were apes.
Yeah. There were all kinds of animals from the Democratic Party in that video. Some people were apes. As a matter of fact, the Obamas weren't the only apes. I think that Joe Biden was a baboon, and you had AOC was a jackass. Okay, so nobody cares about that. So this is again the media trying to pull on the heartstrings of black people. Oh, the first black president, the current president Donald Trump depicted them as animals. Yeah, all of the people and Trump didn't make the video, but he just retweeted it. All the people in that long video were animals. But again, I'm going to try to not stop it in the middle of Rachel Maddow's little show that she's doing here. But take a listen.
President Trump did later take it down. He refused to apologize for it and still hasn't to this day. That was 3 months ago. It was 5 months ago when Donald Trump confirmed something that he had previously long denied. Back in his first term, President Trump had told a group of senators at the White House that he thought it was terrible that immigrants to America were from S-hole countries. And according to reporting at the time, he named some predominantly black countries, and he said they were S-hole countries, and couldn't we instead have immigrants from predominantly white countries?
Somalia and Haiti were the countries that he named, because he does confirm that he said it, and he mentions when he says, she didn't play the clip though, but I don't know why you don't want people to know that when he's talking about shithole countries, he's talking about Somalia and Haiti. You want me to show you some pictures of Somalia and Haiti right now?
He mentioned Norway. Since countries with white populations are apparently good.
Yeah, Oslo's a lot different than Port-au-Prince. I can show you pictures right now. I can show you pictures right now of Oslo and Port-au-Prince, and you tell me where you would like to be, Rachel Maddow.
And countries with black populations are swear words. So Donald Trump said that in his first term, and when it was reported that he had said that, he denied it. He said he had never, ever used that language. But then just a few months ago, he started bragging proudly, weirdly at a speech in Pennsylvania. He started bragging that, yes, actually, despite all those earlier denials, of course, he had used that term, and moreover, he still believes it. Predominantly black countries are S-hole countries.
He didn't say that. He said Haiti and Somalia are S-hole countries. He didn't say nothing about predominantly black. He said Somalia and Haiti, and they are S-hole countries.
This administration, I think it's clear from just the repeated daily news cycle. I think this administration is bad at everything they set their mind to. They're terrible in the courts. To the point where, like, their performance in court jeopardizes the law licenses of everybody who speaks for them. They're terrible in the court of public opinion, which you can see in the polls, which is going to have a big political impact on them the next time people get a chance to vote for them en masse.
You hope.
They're terrible, really terrible at all the technocratic, practical stuff a government is supposed to do, including, like, basic stuff like the weather. They're terrible at war, terrible at diplomacy. They're even terrible at hiding the ball in terms of how much this president does whatever Vladimir Putin wants, even when it makes no sense for us. They're just not great. They're bad at basically everything they try to do. But on the issue of race, on the treatment of African Americans specifically,
drama.
Even being terrible at what they're doing has still proven to be disastrous for our country. And it is, in part, the posturing and the messaging and the racist vibes from the White House and the president. That is stuff that validates and excites the worst bigots in the country, and that is consequential. But it's more than that, too. We are now about 16 months into what has been from day one a concerted and intense targeting of black Americans, specifically by this president and by this administration.
Targeting of black Americans. Black Americans is what she says. You know, what is this about? Well, I mean, it's consistent with what they've done from the beginning, from the moment that Donald Trump came down the escalator and decided that he was going to run for president, announced that he was going to run for president in 2015. They have continually tried to paint this guy as a racist, that he's a racist, that he hates not only black people, he hates all people of color, and he is a racist that only likes white people and Jews. That's the narrative. And it's been for over a decade and it hadn't really worked. I'm going to show you here in a moment that it hadn't really worked. But these people are freaking out right now because this isn't about race. This isn't about anything else but power. This is about power and who gets power, who gets control of the levers of power in the federal government. That's what this is about. But this is what Rachel Maddow is doing. She's telling the story and putting together this whole, I think this, we're not going to watch it all, but this whole like 12-minute video of why Trump is racist.
Has been from day one a concerted and intense targeting of Black Americans, specifically by this president and by this administration. On his first full day in office, he proclaims war on diversity efforts.
He ran on that. People elected him to get rid of DEI. People were sick of DEI. He ran on that and he won overwhelmingly. Kamala Harris didn't win a single swing state. He destroyed her running on a platform. I'm going to get rid of DEI. And he's got rid of DEI. The people who voted for him didn't want DEI.
Full day in office, he proclaims war on diversity efforts, not only in government, but in any institution in the country over which he can exert leverage, everything from schools and universities to law firms to private businesses of every stripe.
Promises made, promises kept.
Immediately started firing some of the highest profile Black public officials in the whole U.S.
So this one's cute. What's this?
Seemingly regardless of any other thing about them.
Seemingly regardless about anything else about them, that the only reason that these people were fired, he's firing people, is because of the color of their skin. Seemingly. I don't have any proof of this, but seemingly he is firing people only because of the color of their skin. This clown.
He then immediately started firing some of the highest profile Black public officials in the whole U.S. government, seemingly regardless of any other thing about them. I mean, right away, we get the firing of the chairman of the Joint Chiefs.
And then she puts their picture up, seemingly regardless of anything else about them. What are you talking about? The guy had are the only people he's firing are Black people? He fired his Secretary of State. He fired his Secretary of Homeland Security. The guy had a TV show for over a decade on NBC where his number one tagline is "You're fired." And so he's not allowed to fire Black people? This is insane. But I'm going to tell you where this is coming from.
I mean, right away, we get the firing of the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
She puts
Charles
their pictures
Kupfer.
up. You can see they're all Black.
Firing of the Librarian of Congress, Carla Hayden. And then it's Gwynne Wilcox from the National Labor Relations Board. And then it's Robert Primus, the chair of the Surface Transportation Board. And then it's Alvin Brown from the NTSB. And then it's Peggy Carr, the head of the National Center for Education Statistics. And then it's Willie Phillips from FERC, from the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. And then it's Lisa Cook from the Federal Reserve Board of Governors. And on and on and on.
And on and on and on. And on and on and on.
Top political
Kristi
Noem.
Noem.
Elon Musk then started just lopping off huge swaths of the federal government to disastrous practical effect. The largest and most egregious cuts targeted federal agencies that employed a disproportionate number of Black employees.
She even has the video with USAID. Oh, we got rid of USAID, and the majority of people who work for USAID and other useless government wastes were Black people. It doesn't matter if they're Black. It's waste. We need to downsize the government even more. People that are just feeding off the government.
Federal agencies that employed a disproportionate number of Black employees. Reporter Erica Green wrote about this a few months ago for The Times, noting that nothing had moved backwards in the federal government for Black Americans this quickly or this far in over 100 years.
Wow.
Since Woodrow Wilson came in 1912 and resegregated the federal workforce.
Since Woodrow Wilson.
Quote, Black employees were fired or demoted to lower level jobs.
She's just reading and quoting. So now what she's doing, she's just reading and quoting the opinions of some New York Times columnist that said, oh, Black people have been set back to the early 20th century in the Woodrow Wilson period. Democrat Wilson.
Quote, black employees were fired or demoted to lower level jobs, relegated to separate and inferior lunchrooms and other facilities, and accused of making white women feel unsafe. Those who remained were humiliated. A black worker in the postal service was surrounded by screens so white workers would not have to look at him. Another employee had a cage built around him to separate him from his white counterparts. A clerk in the Treasury Secretary's office was assigned to rewrite all correspondence to address black employees by their first names.
Yeah, so she's talking about so she's reading this opinion from the New York Times columnist, all dramatic, about something that went on 100 years ago in the Woodrow Wilson, who was a Democrat in his administration. This is insane. And it's all this dramatic stuff to make people feel like the Trump administration is not only racist, that they're removing all their rights, that the Supreme Court is taking all their rights, taking us back to Jim Crow era. I have some great clips here that I got to share with you guys. Let's get right into those clips. Some of the hyperbole that we heard in the aftermath of the Supreme Court ruling on the racist district in Louisiana, and saying that, no, you can't use race anymore. Well, before we do that, let's play the clip from Barack Hussein Obama. Barack Hussein Obama. We're going to talk a lot about him as we get going here, because this guy changed everything. And this was a speech that he gave, the keynote speech during the 2004 election when John Kerry was the nominee. And this was the key that set Barack Obama on the map. And everything that he said in this was, they hit all of the right tones. This is what everybody wanted to hear, that he was going to move us forward into a post-racial America. He's half black. He's half white. He can understand, both sides. He's progressive. He's all of it. This guy came on the scene and he hit all of the tones. He was the right guy for the time. And this is what he said in 2004. Take a listen.
E pluribus unum, out of many, one. Now, even as we speak, there are those who are preparing to divide us.
Yeah, you.
Masters.
You are the one preparing to divide us. You're the one. You're the one who is preparing to divide us, bro. This guy was the biggest con job on this country, I swear.
Now, even as we speak, there are those who are preparing to divide us. The spin masters, the negative ad peddlers, who embrace the politics of anything goes. Well, I say to them tonight, there is not a liberal America and a conservative America. There is the United States of America. There is not a black America and a white America and Latino America and Asian America. There's the United States of America.
If there's not a black America and a white America, then why do you need black districts in 2026? Barack Hussein Obama. Why do you need districts drawn to segregate people into black-only districts or white-only districts or Asian-only districts or Hispanic-only districts? If there's not a white America or black America or Hispanic America, that is the United States of America. Why? And that's what the Supreme Court ruled. This is what you said back in 2004. And when you were elected, you promoted post-racialism that we were, once you were elected, you didn't. You did it when you were running in 2008. But once you were elected, you allowed your surrogates to divide us along racial lines. You were the biggest con job on this country ever. But this is what the Supreme Court did. The Supreme Court says you can't draw racial districts anymore. And it's not saying that black people don't have the right to vote anymore. Black people don't have the right to run for office anymore. You can't draw districts based on race anymore. This isn't disenfranchising black people or taking rights from black people and taking us back to Jim Crow era or the Woodrow Wilson era. That's not what's happening here. What's happening here is we're going to the era that Barack Obama was talking about here in 2004, e pluribus unum, out of many one. Out of many one. There's not a white America or a black America. This is the United States of America.
To pursue our individual dreams and yet still come together as one American family.
One American family.
E pluribus unum. Out of many, one. Now, even as we speak, there are those who are preparing to divide us. The spin masters, the negative ad peddlers, who embrace the politics of anything goes. Well, I say to them tonight, there is not a liberal America and a conservative America. There is the United States of America. There is not a black America and a white America and Latino America and Asian America. There's the United States of America.
United States of America. So the Supreme Court says that since we're the United States of America and we don't have a black America and a white America, then you don't need to be drawing districts based on race. But since that ruling, this is some of the hyperbole that you have heard. And this is all geared into making black people angry. Oh my God, the Republicans, the racist Republicans are taking your rights. You have to be motivated to go out and vote in November. This is the narrative. Listen to Sunny Hostin here on The View.
As a black woman, that my father was born in 1949. He remembers segregated schools. He remembers segregated water fountains. He remembers that he did not have full civil rights. And I have been discriminated against. And now I have to tell my children that they have less civil rights than I did when I was born.
That's true.
My kids have less civil rights than I did. What are you talking about? Your kids have less civil rights, lady? You were born poor. In New York, in Brooklyn, your kids are rich now because of you've been successful. Your husbands have been successful. You're in the 1% of top earners in the United States. What are you talking about? You have less civil rights and your kids have less civil rights. This is ridiculous. But this woman who plays a black woman, I am a black woman, you know, she's Puerto Rican. I guess maybe one of her parents are black. I mean, Sunny's not even her real name. It's Asuncion. And, you know, she's talking about, you know, all this drama about the civil rights period, which neither her or anyone in her family was a part of. And, oh, I don't have any rights anymore. My kids don't have any rights anymore. It's ridiculous. And then who is this? This was Dave Rubin, who put this clip together showing us.
That is disgusting, despicable, and I am devastated.
I'm
My mother's
devastated.
family, while they are Puerto Rican, they actually originate from Spain. And the reason that they moved to Puerto Rico is because the slave trade had been sort of canceled in Spain and then Curacao, and then they moved all of their slaves to Puerto Rico. And so the family business, I have been told that they were printers and journalists, but they were in fact enslavers.
So she's Puerto Rican and comes from slave. Look at it. Looks like she's a little bit dark. Does it look like she's a little darker here than she is in this picture? She looks a bit different. She looks like she's gotten a little blacker here. Anyway, yeah, this is ridiculous. What she's saying is ridiculous. She hasn't lost any rights. Her children don't have less civil rights than her. She's very fortunate and very successful. You don't need, because you can't draw districts based on race doesn't mean that you've lost civil rights. Doesn't mean that black people don't have the right to vote and run for office anymore. Here's another one. This one is, she goes by Political Girl. And I want you to take a listen to her rant.
Obviously, the black community does not need me to speak for them.
No,
but
we
I will
don't.
say on behalf of the white community that finds, segregation.
On behalf of the white community. I don't think the white community needs you to speak for them either. We certainly don't need you to speak for us, but I don't think anyone in the white community asked you to speak for them, Political Girl.
Obviously, the black community does not need me to speak for them. But I will say on behalf of the white community that finds, segregation nauseating, that found Jim Crow horrible, that feels embarrassed that is such a huge
If you
part of
find segregation, so repulsive, then why do you want to segregate people based on race in congressional districts. Do you not see the hypocrisy in that, political girl? It's absolutely ridiculous.
Finds, segregation nauseating, that found Jim Crow horrible, that feels embarrassed that is such a huge part of our history.
Our
from
history.
Slavery on. I think if we don't do something now, America's going to look a lot like it did during segregation. The Republicans that control the government in Louisiana, nearly every other southern state, they're going to use this decision the Supreme Court just made as aggressively as possible to reshape the political landscape, to wipe out as much Black representation as they possibly can.
No. To wipe out as much Democrat representation. Say it right. Say it right. Say it right, political girl. Yeah, I mean, yes, it's not 90% anymore, as I'm going to show you here in a moment, but over 80% of Black people vote for Democrats. And this is about Democrat representation. This is about Democrat power is what this is about. It has nothing to do with race. You guys want to use these racist districts so you can increase Democrat power. I'm going to show you that. As we move on,
as
but take a listen.
Aggressively as possible to reshape the political landscape, to wipe out as much Black representation as they possibly can. And everyone, it doesn't matter what color your skin, if you feel sickened by the history of our country and what we have done to people, then this is the time to say we're not doing this anymore, because this is a nightmare, but we absolutely cannot you stop fighting.
So she says over again about our country and our history and all this stuff. This chick's Canadian. She's Canadian. Her real name is Leah McGowan. She holds dual citizenship as a Canadian American citizen. Leah McGowan, widely known as Political Girl, is a Canadian American social media personality, political commentator, and activist. She just got her she's Canadian, and she just got her U.S. citizenship like a year ago. I remember when she came out and announced it. Now she's a dual citizen of Canada and America, and she's talking about our history and our past and all this stuff and how Black people are being disenfranchised. And I'm going to speak on behalf of all the white people. This dual citizenship reflects her connection to both Canada and the United States, allowing her to engage with her audience in political discourse. This is a clown show. You got Puerto Ricans and Canadians telling us how bad this is for Black people and how taking us back to the civil rights before the civil rights era. My kids have less rights, even though I'm in 1% of the top earners. This is insane. This is insane. But this is all about power, people. This is all about power. This is on the Democracy Now! Show. And I want you to listen to what this guy says.
Yeah, they're going to hold a special legislative session very soon that could eliminate the state's lone Black member of Congress. That means you could have a state that is 40% Black, the largest Black population in America, that has no Black representative. This is a state that before the Voting Rights Act, only 6% of Black Americans were registered to vote. So you
don't have a right to have a Black representative. What are you talking about? You're represented because you live in a district with your representative. Sometimes you vote and are represented by the person who is your representative. Sometimes, like me right now, I live in a district where I'm not represented. I don't like my representative. She's an idiot. I didn't vote for her, but I just happen to live in this district and she represents me. Yes, I would love to have another representative that I could choose. And I don't care if they're Black or white or whatever they are. My representative happens to be Jewish. But that's not why she's a bad representative. She's a bad representative because she's an idiot. But yes, I would love to choose another representative who better represents me. But I live in a district where more people want the idiot and they vote for the idiot. That's the same way in Mississippi. You don't have a right to have a Black representative just because you have a large percentage of Black people. It's ridiculous.
Congress, that means you could have a state that is 40% Black, the largest Black population in America, that has no Black representative. This is a state that before the Voting Rights Act, only 6% of black Americans were registered to vote. So the Voting Rights Act transformed Mississippi just like it transformed the South. This is a place where Medgar Evers was murdered fighting for voting rights, where Goodman, Cheney, and Schwerner were murdered fighting for voting rights.
In the 60s.
There is a very long and ugly history of violence, discrimination, and racism.
That has nothing to do with this. That has nothing to do with the decision that the Supreme Court just made on Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. Just, it has nothing to do with it. Yes, the 1960s, there were a very volatile decade, and it was a transformative decade. Yes, but now we are post the 1960s. Barack Hussein Obama, who said that we're not a Black America or white America or Hispanic, he never could have gotten elected in the 1960s. He would have never gotten elected in the 1960s, but he was elected in 2008 because we are in a new era. And what you clowns keep drawing on is this era from 60 years ago that, quite frankly, I mean, it has little relevance to what's going on today. This is all about Democrat power.
Across the South. And the fear is that Jim Crow is now coming back in a different form. We're returning to the days of literacy tests and poll taxes.
It's ridiculous.
Not through those devices, but through specifically trying to eliminate black office holders and
Democrat office holders, because they're all Democrats. And the narrative breaks down. These people have a serious problem. I'm going to show you the biggest problem that they have, because the narrative is that white Southerners will not vote for black candidates. So that means that there will not be black representation in Congress because white Southerners will not vote for black candidates. That's their narrative. They know that black people still have the right to vote. They know that black people still have the ability to run for office. But their narrative, it hinges on all of these narratives, these hyperbolic narratives from Political Girl and Asociación and this guy on Democracy Now! and many others. Their entire hyperbolic narrative is centered around the fact that they say white Southerners will not vote for black candidates. And the problem they have, the biggest problem they have, is this guy right here. This guy right here puts a monkey wrench in their entire narrative. He puts a monkey wrench in their entire narrative because he is a black candidate that won a statewide election in South Carolina where the Civil War started. In the racist South Carolina, Tim Scott is one of two senators in the southern state of South Carolina. Many white people had to vote for him. And he's black. So it seems like it's not that that white Southerners won't vote for black candidates. It seems like white Southerners won't vote for black Democrats. White Southerners won't vote for black Democrats, and white Democrats won't vote for black Democrats. Not the Jasmine Crockett types. And that's what happened to Jasmine Crockett in Texas. I mean, there's so much to this, people. There's so much. You're going to get more into that in a moment. But Tim Scott, he throws a monkey wrench in their entire narrative because white Republicans will vote for a black candidate. They've shown it in the South. They just won't vote for a black Democrat. And that's what this is about. This is about Democrat power. And like I said, white Democrats they don't want to vote for Jasmine Crockett types. They're done with that. They're over that. People are over that. So what is this all about? What is this whole redistricting and mid decade redistricting and battle lines about? It is about Trump, honestly, having the brilliant idea to do this, that he realized that all of these Democrat states like Illinois, all the states in the Northeast, they've already overly gerrymandered their states to where there's no Republican representatives from the New England region. There's I think there's one or two from Illinois, and this is before Trump, had the idea and said that Texas should do mid-decade redistricting. And I want you to notice from the 2024 election that Democrats lost the popular vote. You can see right here, the popular vote in 2024. Democrats lost the popular vote in the House of Representatives by 4 million votes, almost 4 million votes. 4 million votes. But they only picked up 2 seats. How are you going to get 4 million more votes in the House of Representatives and only pick up 2 seats? Because it's the way that these Democrat states they'd already gerrymandered and drawn out any Republican representation. So Trump said to combat that, Texas should redistrict. And then after Texas made their move, California made their move. Now, many of these states, we saw what happened in Virginia, but they're battling the courts there. The courts, I think, have already thrown that out. And that's what this is all about. So after the Supreme Court ruling on this district in Louisiana stopped their elections. So we're going to go back and we're going to draw more fair districts that are representatives to this new Supreme Court ruling. Other states, Mississippi, Tennessee, are threatening to redistrict because Republicans have more ability to redistrict because their states weren't already redistricted to the hilt prior to this, like the Democrats were. And it all comes down to the way the districts are drawn. That's how you can have a 4 million more people vote for Republicans in the House of Representatives, and you only get 2 seats out of that. I mean, here it says right here. Let's read this from the Wikipedia page. It says, I was reading this earlier. Hold on. All right, here. The election was expected to be highly competitive, with forecasts suggesting less than 5-seat difference between the two parties. Events that have occurred during the 118th Congress include, no, that's not it. Oh, here it is right here. This is it. All right. Republicans, led by incumbent Speaker Mike Johnson, narrowly maintained control. Narrowly, 4 million more voters voted for Republicans. And they narrowly, by 2 votes, maintained control of the House of Representatives. Republicans, after winning 4 million more votes than Democrats in the congressional race, led by incumbent Speaker Mike Johnson, narrowly maintained control of the House with a small majority of 220 seats, the narrowest since 1930. The narrowest since 1930, after winning by 4 million votes, winning the House popular vote by 4 million votes and a narrow margin of 2.6%. Democrats made a net gain of 1 seat from Republicans, which represented the smallest net change in U.S. history in the House of Representatives. After 4 million more votes, the majority was decided by just over 7,000 votes across 3 congressional districts. This is what this is about. This is what this is about. And Democrats have been getting away with this forever. And it was brilliant for Trump to come in and do this mid-decade redistricting. It was brilliant. And it didn't have anything to do with taking black people back to civil rights era, pre-civil rights era, and all this stuff, and it's the new Jim Crow, and that's completely hyperbolic. But this is what this is really about. This is what the Rachel Maddow clip was about. This is what it is all about. And I want you to listen to Harry Eaton, this poll that came out on April 30th. Harry Eaton here. Take a listen to CNN.
Yeah, I think what we're seeing right now in the numbers is President Trump and the Republican Party are chipping away at the long-term advantage that Democrats have had with black voters, with African Americans. You can see it right here.
That phrase that he uses, chipping away, is very key because I've been talking about this forever. Probably for at least a decade now. I've been talking about this, that it's not huge. It's not a huge shift. It's incremental, and it's been incremental ever since 2008. Not a lot at all. 2008, between 2008 and 2012, the shift was incremental. From 2012 to 2016, the shift was incremental. From 2016 to 2020, the shift was incremental. From 2020 to 2024, the shift was incremental. But all of those incremental shifts for over a decade, now it's that's a big deal. And I've been talking about this ever since I noticed this shift going back a decade ago. So when he says chipping away that's what he means by this, is that it hasn't been all at once. It's not this huge shift. It's incremental, and he's chipping away. That's what he's doing.
Away at the long-term advantage that Democrats have had with black voters, with African Americans. You can see it right here. Look, Trump's approval among African Americans at this point in term one, he was at 12%. You know, he's been losing ground with a lot of people. He's gaining ground with African Americans. He's up to 16% at this point. And you say, this isn't that big of a shift. But I will tell you, Republicans absolutely love this shift that's going on because Democrats have had such a long-term advantage. The fact that he's actually gaining ground versus where he was in term number one, this has major implications for elections down the line because Democrats, especially in a lot of these tight races, you talk about places like Georgia, right down in the South, you see this type of movement for Trump actually gaining ground. This could have major ramifications and help put Republicans over the top in a number of southern places in the midterm elections.
But do you see this as part of a bigger trend?
I see this as absolutely part of a bigger trend. Donald Trump's Republican Party is absolutely gaining ground, not just him gaining in terms of his approval rating, but look at the party ID margin, Kate, because this to me was absolutely stunning. Look at this party ID margin among African Americans. At this point in Trump term number one, Democrats had a 63-point advantage. That is absolutely fallen. Look at where it is now, a double-digit shift away.
These are black Democrats saying that they don't want to affiliate with Democrats anymore. We don't want to call ourselves Democrats anymore. This is staggering. But they're not only doing that, as he's saying here, many of them, not a lot, but incrementally, they're going and they're voting for the MAGA Republican Party, not the Republican Party, but the Trump-led Republican Party, the new MAGA movement that Trump launched in the Republican Party. The Republican Party that is led by Trump now is it's not your daddy's Republican Party. It's not the Republican Party from 20 years ago or 40 years ago. And neither is the Democratic Party. I mean, quite frankly. But yeah, this is what this is about. This is what it's all about. These people are freaking out right now.
And help put Republicans over the top in a number of southern places in the midterm elections.
But do you see this as part of a bigger trend?
I see this as absolutely part of a bigger trend. Donald Trump's Republican Party is absolutely gaining ground, not just him gaining in terms of his approval rating, but look at the party ID margin, Kate, because this to me was absolutely stunning. Look at this party ID margin among African Americans. At this point in Trump term number one, Democrats had a 63-point advantage. That is absolutely fallen. Look at where it is now, a double-digit shift away. Democrats, of course, still have the advantage, but it's a 12-point shift to the Republican Party. And I look back through Gallup's records. They sent me their records. And this, in fact, lead that Democrats have is actually smaller than any lead from 2006 to 2021. So Democrats are leading. But again, we're talking about chipping away. Republicans are chipping away at this long-term advantage that Democrats have had among African Americans. We see it in terms of Trump's approval rating, and we even see it to a wider degree among the party ID margin, where all of a sudden there are a number of African Americans who are walking away from the Democratic Party and a number of them who are walking into the Republican tent.
People are running from the Democratic Party. People
Very interesting looking at that past Gallup information.
Yeah.
What does this mean for the race for control in Congress?
Okay, so you see this right here. You see this 51-point advantage that Democrats have, significantly less than you see that 63-point advantage. And what we will note was back in 2024, right, Donald Trump put in a historically strong performance among African Americans. Democrats performed the worst in a generation. Have they gained any of that coalition back from where they fell down to in 2024? But take a look here. Okay. Choice for election among African Americans. Kamala Harris was leading amongst that group in the pre-election polling by 63 points.
Down.
Are Democrats gaining back any of that ground? It's a 62-point advantage now. Republicans are holding on to the gains that they made among African Americans in 2024. Republicans are gaining among African Americans. They are chipping away at that long-term advantage.
They are freaking out. They're freaking out. That's why this guy, Rachel Maddow, this dude, is doing segments like this. That's what's going on here. These people are freaking out. And then with the new Supreme Court ruling and the redistricting, I mean, they feel like they're getting, like, I wish I had that clip from Bill Maher. Bill Maher's like, that they're taking away our guarantee that we're going to win. It's guaranteed that we're going to win the House of Representatives, is what he said. Nothing's guaranteed. What are you talking about? You're not guaranteed to win back the House of Representatives, Bill Maher. It's ridiculous. I can't believe that I didn't get that clip prepped, because I wish I did have it. He said it like last weekend, and he said it because this was after the assassination attempt at the White House Correspondents' Dinner. And he says, well, if they're taking away our guarantee of the White House, why wouldn't you resort to violence? That's what he said, Bill Maher. This article just came out May 5th, Cinco de Mayo, May 5th. GOP spots an opening with black voters. This is why they're freaking out, people. This is what it's about. A generational and structural shift. Decoupling black identity. I love this sentence, or this paragraph. A generational and structural shift is decoupling. That means splitting black identity from the Democratic Party loyalty. That black identity and Democratic Party loyalty have been the part of that's been part of your identity as a black person. You didn't even have a choice growing up if you were a Democrat or not. That's part of your identity. I'm black, I'm a Democrat. That's what Joe Biden said when he had the interview with Charlemagne in 2020. You think you're having trouble figuring out if you're for me or if you're for Trump, then you ain't black. You don't have a black identity if you can't figure out if you're for me, the Democrat, or for Trump. A generational and structural shift is decoupling black identity from Democratic Party loyalty, transforming a once reliable voting bloc into a cohort of political free agents that the GOP is uniquely positioned to exploit. Why it matters. Even modest, chipping away, incremental, even modest GOP gains combined with weakening party loyalty could make a big difference in close elections in the post-Voting Rights Act world. President Trump is making gains with black voters despite posting racist videos. Oh yeah, you gotta put that in there. Using racist rhetoric. He didn't use any racist rhetoric, and advancing policies critics say are slavery. See, he's got to put all this stuff in there. You can see his bias. But the real problem is the problem is what you just heard Harry Eaton say from CNN. They have a problem because like I've been saying, and I've been charting for over a decade now, is that it hasn't been huge. It hasn't been, a massive shift, but it's been happening incrementally for the past decade. How much time do I have? I want to just do an hour, so I got 10 more minutes. This is the Catalyst data, and Catalyst is a comprehensive research firm, and they did a comprehensive breakdown of the 2024 election. And they show you here, you can see this is black support. This is overall black support right here. And you can see the trend. This red here is Obama 2012, 96%, down from 98% of the black vote. Obama got 98% of the black vote in 2008, and then he lost 2%, got 96% in 2012. And in this 2012 in red, this is the overall black vote for over the past 4 presidential elections. Obama in 2012, 96%, and then Hillary Clinton in 2016, 93%. So Hillary Clinton's 93% is 5% lower than what Obama got in 2008. He got 98% in 2008, and then he got 96% in 2012. So Hillary Clinton's 93% in 2006, that's still overwhelming. It's still very good, 93%. But then when Joe Biden ran in 2020, he got 89%. Now we're under 90%. It's incremental. It's chipping away. Now we're under 90%. And then when Kamala Harris ran in 2024, now she's at 85%. 85% of the black vote. This 85% of the black vote is 13% away from what Obama got in 2009. So that those incremental movements are making a major difference. And they made a major difference in the 2024 election. And if this trend, this is the trend that I identified over a year ago, if this trend continues, then you can expect whoever the Democratic nominee is in 2028 to get below 85%. And Democrats cannot survive. The party is dead. The party is ultimately dead if this happens. All right, I have a little bit more time. I want to play a couple of clips, more people going into hyperbolic rants. We're going to look at Jemele Hill here, and these are all people responding to Stephen A. Smith went viral over the last week saying that all black people should vote Republican for one election. Like, what's that going to do? Stephen A. Smith is wading into politics and has been. I don't think he's very bright or informed. But this was a idea that he had and a rant that he had on Cam Newton's podcast. And Jemele Hill is going to react to it. I'm going to play her reaction, and then I'm going to play Roland Martin, his reaction to Stephen A. Smith. Take a listen.
For one election that every black person would vote Republican. They're like, what? How can he say that? I said, it's simple. Since 1964, the black people,
64.
Black folks, we have been giving our vote to the Democratic Party at an exorbitant rate. Therefore, they know they got our vote, and they don't have to cater to us as much as we need them to.
Okay. Now, there's more. This is going to be hard for me to do. I'm going to probably be stopping and starting his comments because I think I want to make sure that I stay on task and frankly, that all the thoughts I have running through my head, that I express those. So he said, there's a word that he used, what I consider to be a trigger word. He said, black people have been giving their vote to the Democratic Party since 1964.
Yeah.
Now, class, you all know what happened in 1964.
Yeah, we all know
the reason why black people began to align themselves with the Democratic Party. The reason was called the 1964 Civil Rights Act. The other reason, there was 3 major pieces of legislation that passed within a span of 5 years. It was the 1964 Civil Rights Act, it was the Voting Rights Act of 1965, and it was the Fair Housing Act as well. These were all core centerpiece pieces of legislation.
All right, so I want you to notice how it all starts in 1964. Even you heard Stephen A. Smith say in 1964, that's the 1964 election between Lyndon Baines Johnson and the Arizona senator. What's his name? God, I can't believe I'm drawing blank on his name. But the 64 election after LBJ had become president. LBJ had only been president for a year. Like, Kennedy was assassinated in November of 63, and then the election in November of 64. So LBJ had only been president for a year. The country's still very emotional over the president of the United States being gunned down in the middle of the streets just a year prior. But Lyndon Johnson did do the Civil Rights Act, even though he was opposed to it as a congressman and had been opposed to civil rights. Whatever. Lyndon Johnson does that. So it's all about 1964. And notice how she starts there, because Stephen A. Smith is saying that in 2026, some 60 years later, after 1964, you're still giving your vote to the Democrats for nothing. We understand what they did in the 1960s. And quite frankly, like I said, the Democrat Party from the 1960s is not the Democratic Party for today. I don't think any Democrat from the 1960s would be elected. John Kennedy himself probably couldn't get elected in today's Democratic Party. LBJ certainly could not get elected in today's Democratic Party. So there's a completely different Democratic Party. She's got to take you back 60 years to the 1960s. And I just want you to notice that that's where she starts, because Roland Martin's going to do the same thing.
It was the Voting Rights Act of 1965, and it was the Fair Housing Act as well. These were all core.
What have Democrats done for black people lately? If you got to go back 60 years for what Democrats have done for black people, then you got a huge problem.
Pieces of legislation that passed under Lyndon Baines Johnson, who was a white Southern Democrat. So when you use the terminology give, you make it seem like that vote wasn't earned.
Yeah, they earned it in the 1960s, so you're still giving it to them 60 years later, don't have to do nothing else for you? It's ridiculous.
The vote was earned because the Democrats delivered the pieces of legislation that were going to improve black life.
So the Democrats earned the black vote forever, in perpetuity. In perpetuity, the Democrats, they own the black vote now because of what they did, because of what the Democratic Party did in the 60s. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous stuff, people. She goes on. Still talking about Stephen A. Smith.
A little bit of history will tell Stephen A. that black people used to vote Republican. And the reason black people used to vote Republican, because Republicans, because of the Emancipation Proclamation, because of Abraham Lincoln, who was a Republican. And you all know Republicans love to remind black people about who, quote unquote, freed the slaves. Yes, it was Abraham Lincoln through the Emancipation Proclamation. Frederick Douglass, also a Republican. The reason black people aligned themselves with the Republicans was because the Republicans were what the Democrats are today.
Yeah, that's
Republicans
ridiculous.
were the ones who, in black people's mind, was getting them closer to liberation, closer to civil rights. So you see how that works? Republicans provided legislation that would help black people, and black people voted for them.
Okay.
Or black people supported them, since, it took a while for the whole, the right to vote thing. But nevertheless, y'all get my drift. So when Republicans were on the side of black people aligned with that side. And then when Democrats were on the side of black people then aligned themselves with that side.
So it's a quid pro quo. This is what she's saying. Listen to what she's saying. It's a quid pro quo. That black people voted for Republicans when they got something from Republicans, and black people voted for Democrats when they got something from Democrats. But what she's telling you is that what black people got from Democrats was 60 years ago. And because of what happened 60 years ago, that black people still, what are you talking about? You're sitting here explaining how the black vote is fluid, and how it depends that black people will vote for Republicans if Republicans are doing things for them, and black people will vote for Democrats if Democrats are doing things for them, that nobody owns the black vote. Except the Democrats own the black vote because of what they did 60 years ago. What have Democrats done for you lately to earn your vote? All right. And this is Roland Martin. And you can see that he does. It's like they sent each other an email. They go into the exact same story, the exact same history from the 1960s, 64 Civil Rights Acts, 65 Voting Rights Act, all this stuff, Lyndon Baines Johnson. All of this, it's like the exact same. She says Roland Martin here says the exact same thing and makes the exact same case that you just heard Jemele Hill saying.
Is to put ourselves as a community in a position where both parties have to work to get our vote.
Can I ask you this?
Okay. All right.
Do you think you
come to me? All right. So I texted Stephen A. earlier about that, and I'd sent him some information, and I got no problem saying it. Here's the deal why he's wrong. Because what he just said, we've always done that. Always. Black people were hardcore Republican voters after the Emancipation Proclamation and the end of the Civil War.
See? Exact same.
Black people were hardcore Republicans from the 1800s through 1964.
It's like they're
these are facts.
It's like they're talking off of talking points. It's like they're talking off of talking points. He says the exact same thing that she says.
Okay. Now, understand, when you look at, matter of fact, Ted Cruz, if y'all want to laugh, Ted Cruz actually posted this stupid ass tweet where he tried to ask Grok, was it true of what he read? And it said it was something like the first 23 black members of Congress were Republican. And he goes, Grok, is this true? And I was like, dumbass, you didn't pay any attention in history class? We all know that was true. Black people were riding with Republicans because radical Republicans pushed through the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment. It was Southern Democrats who were fighting Republicans. Now, when the Great Compromise of 1877 happened, guess what? Republicans sold black people out. Black Republicans called out Republicans by saying, y'all sold us out. Y'all left us out to pasture. Congressman White gives his Great Phoenix speech. He was the last African-American who was in Congress from North Carolina, and he gave that great speech on the floor of the House. Now, guess what? Herbert Hoover was a Republican president. Herbert Hoover was the leader of the Lily White Party. Herbert Hoover, black people still voted for Herbert Hoover because Democrats were worse. What happens in 1948? You now begin to see Democrats nationally begin to embrace. They put civil rights in their plank.
It goes from Hoover to 48. I mean, he completely misses over FDR and the New Deal. That's when really, because of the Great Depression, that many black people started to vote for Democrat FDR. Like most Americans voted for FDR because the New Deal policies, were helping after the Great Depression. There's a lot of stuff that I could break down in Roland Martin's little historical review here, but how does any of that history relate to today and what Democrats are doing for black people in 2026? What have they done for black people lately to earn the vote for black people? And that's why black people incrementally and Republicans are chipping away. And black people are leaving the Democratic Party, and it's hurting the Democratic Party. I'm out of time. I don't want to really go over an hour, but I really wanted to show you the big issue and why this is so important and why these people are freaking out. They're freaking out right now because they know that this has the potential to end the Democratic Party. And it's even more staggering with black men. You can see here, I showed you the trend over the past 4 elections for all black voters. But if you look at women have held steady from 97% in 2012. Remember, Obama got 98% in 2000, overall black vote, 98% in 2008. And then for women, he only lost 1% in 2000. So 97% of women in 2012 and 96%. And then 90 and 90. So even Joe Biden stayed over, or Joe Biden and Kamala Harris stayed over 90%. But with black men, it's even more staggering. Obama goes down to 95%, below the average in 2012, and then 90% for Hillary Clinton, and then 86%, and this is black men for Joe Biden, and then 79%. Below 80% of black men voted for Kamala Harris. This is why they're freaking out, people. Anyway, I'll see you guys tomorrow. If you're going to listen to the podcast tomorrow, I'm going to put this one out today. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you tomorrow.